Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Hard Count. I'm Michael Emami, and I recently had the opportunity to speak with a young man out of the class of 2022. His name is Aidan Semo out of Cornwall Central High School in New York. Aidan has a very decorated high school football career and middle school football career as well, and we talk a little bit about that and how he got his career started really early. A couple of things about this young man that I want you guys to know about this kid that I want you guys to know. He's only 16 years old of the 2022 class, will be a junior next year. But the one thing that I really kind of gathered when I talked to him was how really kind of mature he was and how well spoken he was. And there's an article that kind of touches up on that, and he gave interviews in middle school as well. It just goes to show you how much experience he has playing at the varsity level. But he was a very well spoken young man, a tremendously high football IQ. And one thing I noticed in particular when looking at his highlights, is his ability to read the field. He has a fantastic ability to really kind of read the field. He has a great arm, great guy to find receivers, throws in very tight windows. I have high expectations for this kid because I think he's going to be an incredible college football athlete, and I dare say he might make it to the NFL. So everybody, without further ado, here is Aidan Semo, class of 2022, Cornwall Central High School. Hope you guys enjoy this one. What colleges are you looking at right now? I see you're a two-time state champion, two-time state champion, excuse me. Do you think this has raised some of your interest in you as a quarterback in terms of what colleges are looking for?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Just because obviously the most important quality in a quarterback is leadership, also um, and also obviously winning football games. So I mean, the more games you win, the more colleges are going to be interested in you. So being able to win back-to-back state championships as a freshman and also a sophomore definitely it helps my resume a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. And so have you been on any visits at all with your parents, and what are some camps you've done?
So I went to visit Boston College, Syracuse multiple times, Rutgers multiple times, Wake Forest once, and then I've done basically all the camps around the tri-state area around here. You know, Boston College, Syracuse, Penn State. We went down to Tennessee and Wake Forest last year, Vanderbilt last year, and then obviously this year we were going to do a lot more, but unfortunately, you know, with everything going on, it didn't work out. But
Yeah. And so with those camps and all that, tell me a little bit about your head coach. How have they kind of developed you in terms of, I guess, making that transition? Because you talked about last year you were a freshman, and kind of beginning of last year when you made the transition from middle school to high school and you became a state champion. How did that transition go, and how did they kind of, I guess, facilitate that?
so I'm actually on my second head coach in high school right
Oh,
now.
really?
When I was in seventh grade, actually, with my first head coach, uh, that year, the fall of my seventh grade year, the starting quarterback actually tore his ACL. So after that season, I got pulled up to varsity, and I spent the whole summer up on varsity going into my eighth grade year, taking all the reps and camps and everything. And then I played backup as an eighth grader. So I would say that whole seventh to eighth grade year, really where I had to make the huge jump, because when I was in seventh grade, I played on the freshman team, and then eighth grade when I was on varsity, that whole year of jumping to from freshman to varsity was definitely a challenge, but I think it really helped me prepare, even though I didn't really play that much, to come in the next year as a freshman and really be ready from the start and not have to really skip a beat.
Right, that must have been pretty scary because if you're only like 13, 14 years old playing with, really old kids, how did that kind of go for you? Did you feel any pressure at all being in that position?
I don't know. I wouldn't really say any pressure, but everyone was very supportive. My coaches were very supportive across the board. All my teammates were very supportive. But honestly, like it was definitely a huge jump just with the speed and really learning how to lead a football team, because you got to earn those guys' trust too. They're not just gonna let a little seventh grade scrawny quarterback come up and tell them what to do. So it was good, and I really do believe that whole eighth grade year was definitely a big learning experience, and that was part of the reason why, as a freshman, I could come in and not skip a beat.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about your parents. How have they influenced you?
I would say my two parents are definitely the biggest influences I have in my life. My dad, my dad instilled definitely a lot of hard work, and basically my whole work ethic. Just and both of my parents have just taught me how to be a great person, and they taught me right from wrong ever since I was little, and that I have to do great in school and everything like that.
Right, right. And so you kind of talked a little bit about in your profile that you come from an athletic background. You have a lot of people in your family that have had some sort of authority in terms of sports. So, do you have any role models within your household from that point, or in that case, like in college or pro football as well?
Yeah, I mean, my mom and dad. My mom played college soccer. And my dad was going to play college football, but he ended up taking a different path. But my mom's brother was a two-time national champion. He ran track at NC State, and then ended up running a little bit for Nike and Adidas. And then he was going to run in the Olympics, and then he had some personal problems that he had to take care of. But uh, other than that, I mean, both my parents are very athletic, so I guess I got some good genes.
Yeah. So when you look at all these students trying to come into high school, I know you made kind of that jump, but when you look at these kids coming into their freshman year, and I hear it's a problem around the world with kids that try and balance schoolwork and athletics. What advice would you give to those kids?
Well, obviously, the advice I would give is that you need to take care of your schoolwork first because that's all that really it matters so much more than sports because in the end, school's going to take you to what you want to do in life, and one day football is going to end, but you're going to have a job for a long time. So you got to take care of your schoolwork first, and you're not going to be able to get into college either if you have terrible grades. So you got to get that schoolwork done, and then obviously, making that making that transition from middle school to high school is going to be big, and you're going to have to learn how to play big boy football a little bit. But I mean, it kind of works itself out. You fall into a routine, and you you'll have some wake up moments once in a while, but it all end up working itself out.
Yeah, yeah. And so when we get to your film here, I noticed that you have a tremendous pocket presence and you have a great ability to really read the field, kind of like Peyton Manning-esque. And what kind of goes into that? What does your training regimen look like, and how does the culture surrounding athletics around your school?
Well, my training regimen right now with everything going on is I wake up at about 5:30 ish, and then I head over to the track at around 6. I do a little running. Then I come home, I'll lift, eat breakfast, and then hang out for a little bit. I'll lift again, and then I'll go to the field and throw with my guys. And then, I mean, really, honestly, like you can't win a state championship by yourself. And we've had great football teams in Cornwall throughout history, and I was blessed to be a part of the two that, you know, put it all together and ended up finishing out the way that everyone expected us to. And we have great culture here. It's been like that ever since, I was a seventh grader and they moved me up, and long before that for decades. But I mean, we have fantastic coaches, that hold kids accountable, and the kids want to be held accountable. Everyone wants to work hard. Everyone loves football here, and I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah. And so, with whom on the team would you say you have the best relationship with? Would you say it would be your fellow players? Would you say it'd be the coaching staff? Who do you think you have the best relationship with in that regard?
Honestly, I think the one thing that really propelled us to end up winning a state championship was that we were all close with each other. There was no cliques on the team or anything like that. It was like the coaches, the players. It's all just one big family, and I really think that's awesome. And everyone loves everyone, so I think that definitely helps.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you talked a lot about leadership, obviously in the multiple profiles that you have. You kind of say this is a big stressor in terms of, or you kind of stress this a lot in terms of like, hey, this is kind of a key quality to being successful. So, how have those qualities? How can they be sustained from playing with older kids? How does one truly become a leader on the team and in the locker room?
I mean, you got to prove yourself. You got to earn those kids' trust. So when you do get onto the field and you're in a big time situation, those kids believe in you, and they're going to trust you to help get the job done in the best way possible. And it's obviously not going to come easy, but you got to work for it. And those seniors that it's their last year, they don't want some scrub coming out of middle school to mess everything up for their last season. So it's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication, and you have to prove to them how hard you're willing to work and the limits that you're willing to go to be successful for them.
All right, awesome. And one final question here. So how do you kind of feel about next season? What are you kind of doing to kind of prepare for that? Because you're going to be an upperclassman next year, right? And you're definitely one of the older guys now. So what does it feel like to be in that position now? Because you've been through the younger phase. But what do you feel like? What does it feel like to be in that position now? And what are you kind of doing to prepare for that moment?
I would say that, nothing really changes because this is the same group of kids that have been coming up. So they know how they need to act and go about things to be successful, just like the past 2 seasons. And these kids are definitely just as hungry as the last group of kids. But I mean, I would say that it's time now to instill what I have into the younger kids coming up, so that when my time's over and I get to leave, that these kids have the same culture that we have, so we can continue the journey as years go on.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to another edition of The Hard Count. That was Aidan Semo, quarterback out of Cornwall Central High School, two-time state champion, 6'3", 200 pounds, out of the class of 2022. He's an all-state QB. If you want to go ahead and contact Aidan, his Twitter handle is @Aidan_Semo, and I'll attach his Huddle and football accounts below. If you want to go ahead and contact me, my Twitter account is @Emami and then my Facebook account is @TheHardCount with Michael Emami, if you want to go ahead and check that out. And go ahead and give my YouTube channel a subscription if you want to go ahead and see the upcoming videos and who I'm doing next for the quarterbacks position. Really enjoy doing the first three quarterbacks. I'll have a couple of other quarterbacks come on as well before we move into the running back showcase, which I'll get started shortly. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been The Hard Count. Do you have what it takes to go D1?